26 minutes past the hour. Thanks so much for being with us, making us a part of your day. We're Miller and Moulton, and whether you're taking us with you at millerandmoulton.com or you are watching right now, the aforementioned Seth Everett, sit down and join us on the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel. And of course, Seth, who covers Major League Baseball, but also the Jets for Sports Illustrated. He hosts Sports with Friends and Hall of Justice. Follow him at Seth_Everett. Seth, first things first, Miller and Moulton fan in the chat room wants to know, when did you get your haircut? This is the shortest look you've ever had.
Did you do it yourself is what I want to know.
Right. Did you lose a bet?
No. Saturday. I think Saturday. Yeah.
Yesterday, I got mine cut, and the girl using the clippers, I had my mask on, and she proceeded to just cut the mask right off.
Nice.
Yep.
They have this thing with these two hooks, this rubber band with these two hooks. So what they do is they take it off your ears, but you keep it on your head, and it wraps around so they can do that. And that exact thing doesn't happen. It's this little gadget, and I thought that was really inventive. And I said, whoever invented that's probably a millionaire.
Probably. All right, Seth, I really rooted for the Rays last night. I thought it would be
I would hope you would.
Series. Well, I just thought it's a much better series if the Rays get out in front. I don't know how much interest this series gets with the Dodgers leading 1-0, and then if they obviously get game 2. But that Dodger team playing that way, I mean, we were talking about early, Mookie Betts didn't steal one. He stole 2 bases. I don't know if anybody knows about this, but they moved runners around. Seth, this looked a little bit like baseball last night.
Yeah, yeah, they did. And the Dodgers, I saw this crazy stat. The Dodgers are 128-2 with Clayton Kershaw on the mound when they score 4 or more runs. That was brilliant. Just absolutely brilliant. The Dodgers are good. I mean, they were the best team in the league during the regular season. The Rays were the best team in the American League. I think it's far from over, but I agree with you. I'm rooting for the Rays. I just would like to see a team get one, and I'm sure you guys have spoken about this, and I haven't been able to hear it recently, but just the idea that one of these cities is going to have 2 championships within 6 weeks of each other. If Tampa wins, they'll have the Stanley Cup and the World Series, and if Dodgers win, they'll have the World Series and the NBA Finals, and that's pretty amazing for a crazy year. Just the idea that one of those cities is going to have just the ultimate and might have a double parade. It's wild. It's really cool.
And obviously in Tampa, they're also pretty pumped up about their football team. They're thinking that, this could go down as the greatest year in Tampa Bay sports. And unfortunately, no one was able to go see it. But all right, first things first, have we had a team do a bullpen game in the World Series before? I know we've had them do it in the playoffs because the Dodgers, I think, are indicating tonight they're going to do a bullpen game. I mean, ironically, they're going to throw the Rays at the Rays.
Yeah, well, it's Andrew Friedman, and he's the architect of both teams. I mean, essentially, he built the Rays, and then he's gone on to the Dodgers, and a lot of his dealings are with Tampa. This is a sign of the times. This is what baseball is. I do like that they reinstituted the days off, though, between games 2 and 3, so you can reset your bullpen. I think that's essential. I think baseball recognized that the playoffs, that was a real war of attrition, and I thought that the 7 games in 7 days, and in both the LCS, you saw these massive comebacks, and everybody was depleted at that point. Everybody was depleted. So I just think that that's important. The Dodgers are going to be able to throw everybody because they know they have the off day. And if they didn't have the off day, their strategy completely changes.
Obviously, you like this better, Seth. I mean, this is more in tune with what we're used to. It also puts a disadvantage to the Rays, doesn't it?
No, but what I didn't like is if you were going to announce that, if you were going to make this deal, and this was a hodgepodge season, and this was a hodgepodge deal because the networks approached baseball about this, and they just said, oh, sure, money, okay. They did it after their trade deadline. So nobody could fortify rotations. Nobody could set it up saying, hey, we have a different rule, so let's have a different rule. No one could say that. And so I thought baseball owed it to the teams to reinstitute these days off, and Fox agreed to it, and away we go.
Well, and they got very good ratings. Both game sevens did very well, which leads me to what Rob
Although
Manfred.
Georgia, Alabama blew every NBA and MLB playoff game out of the water like by double.
I think until Sunday's NLCS game 7. I think actually Sunday's game 7 did what Alabama Georgia did. It did like 9.5 million viewers.
That's wild.
Well, which was great news for baseball because, as you just pointed out, that means an NLCS game 7 outdid every NBA Finals game and did so in a big way. So baseball, I know, was pounding their chest and hoping some of that would carry over into the World Series. But Manfred yesterday, before
they're going to carry the labor talks live. How's that?
That'll be on MLB Alternative set. MLB Alternative.
I think it's actually going to
MLB Network.
I think it's going to be on UFC. Actually, that's how combative they're going to be. But in all seriousness, Manfred yesterday said, there's two things we did this year that I'm hoping we can carry over. Now, one of them, I don't think any of the three of us like. It's starting the 10th inning with a runner on second. Okay. But the other one is he's hoping to continue the expanded playoffs. Now, I just threw out there, hey, if you're going to do this, I'm not in favor of it, but it's fine. But to me, you have to institute off days. And if that's because the Players Association is never going to agree to no off days again. And that means the season's going to be starting in March 22nd because they're going to have to get in 162 and then the expanded playoffs. It's going to take an extra week, et cetera. But your thoughts on if baseball from this point forward expands their playoffs and makes it 6 per league or 8 per league?
Well, the problem with the system, the way it is there's no reward for the division winner, which is exactly the opposite of what Rob Manfred preached when he took over. He said he wanted to institute the one-game playoff because he wanted to give value to the division winner. And this season, the division winner had no advantage whatsoever. To win a 2 out of 3 is a pick 'em at best. I don't care if it's the Pittsburgh Pirates against the Los Angeles Dodgers. That's a pick 'em. And so what you then do if you're going to reward the division winners and say they get a bye into the division series, and you're going to have this extra round, then you're giving 4 and 5 days off, which players don't like either. Players have told me for 25 years, we love a day off. We'll take 2 days off. We don't want 3. Because then you start to lose your rhythm and you lose all your momentum. And momentum is something that is psychological, but it's psychological for all the hitters. And all the hitters don't want to be in a bad mode going into the most important month of the season. This extra round of playoffs, if you did it because, and let's just call it what it is, it's $50 million to split between the owners and the players. It was offered by ESPN and Fox and Turner, and they did it. And they were all crying poverty this year, so everybody did it. They compromised their competition. The Astros almost made the playoffs. They were sub 500. And the fact of the matter is that now you're in a position where you want to expand it and have the World Series going on in November 15th, or you're going to start your season, like you said, March 20th. I swear that blizzard in Cleveland and Colorado is going to be great.
Well, and Seth, don't even get me started on how they begin the baseball season, because you could put those northern teams on a 2-week road trip or at least a 10-day road trip to start the season. There are enough
unfair, but that's unfair because then the end of the season, that's not fair either. No, what you do is you have those teams open up at home, but only have divisional games so that if they're canceled, they're easily made up. Don't have the New York Yankees play the Colorado Rockies on March 22nd.
No. You don't have the Colorado Rockies or New York Yankees play at home on March 22nd. Period. End of sentence in my world. I will say, David and I talked about the extra innings. Seth, I know you care ultimately, but really and truly, at the end of the day, how much of a damn do you give if they put a regular season game with the runner on second? Because I honestly, at the end, that's the least of my concerns with baseball. I mean,
but that's not their problem. So it's putting lipstick on a pig. It's not addressing the current issues facing the sport. So no one complains about extra innings. Nobody says, "Oh my God, I hate this sport. They have extra innings when the game is tied. Oh my God, it's so terrible." No one says that. What they say is, "God, the 4th, 5th, and 6th inning, I saw 3 balls hit and play." That's what they'll say. Fix that.
You went kind of Jewish mother there.
I did a little bit.
You did. You just, yeah, you did. You threw in a little accent, and then you
Talking
got
to my
high
family
pitched.
a lot. Got some family things going on, and I've been talking to them a lot.
Connection for everybody. Connection for everybody.
I mean, I just had to point that out. I just
The
all
funniest
of a sudden,
line was last night. We were on FaceTime, and Justin Turner has pine tar on his back, and it was bothering my wife. And my wife just says, "What does he have this black streak on his?" I said, "What do you want him to put it in the wash? Like, what are you trying to say?" And all of a sudden on FaceTime we hear, "Oh, is it a Black Lives Matter thing?" And we said, "No, it's pine tar. He was rolling in the mud."
Speaking of rolling in the
family
mud,
in 2020.
let's transition to the Jets.
Oh,
Because they are rolling in the mud. Are they serious? I know you said they're not going to fire Gase.
No.
Let's just take your word. If that's the case, is Greg Williams going to last the year? Because this is beyond dysfunctional now, Seth.
Well, the problem is they don't have they don't like their assistants. Okay, they don't like Dowell Loggins or Brant Boyer or any of these guys. They don't see them as being able to run a team. And in this protocol world, they don't want to go outside their bubble, and that's really the reason. And Greg Williams.
So to review, they don't like their players. They don't
No,
like
they don't
their
like their
assistants,
players. And their players don't
and-
like them. And they go
right.
to Twitter and they get out.
I was just going to say, so they don't like their players.
Yep.
Okay, they don't like their assistant coaches, and which is good because the players don't like them. So
Right.
this is fantastic.
It's a great train wreck. It's just a train wreck. But I don't think they're going to fire a coach. I don't usually support in season firing of NFL coaches. I just think that the way the NFL is set up, it kind of chalks up the year. Let's see what happens with Atlanta. I know Atlanta won, but is Atlanta going to suddenly turn their whole season around? I think what they're going to do, and I think what fans are mad on, I think they're mad that he was hired in the first place.
No doubt.
And Christopher Johnson's insistence that Greg Williams be the defensive coordinator, and Matt Rule, who was at Baylor at the time, said, "Screw that! I'm not going in with that psycho." And they decided, and Adam Gase said, "Sure, I'll take him. I don't care about the defense anyway, so let him be the defensive guy. I'll be the offensive guy." And it's a race for who's the worst. And that's all that is. And that's all the comment was. I was on the press conference. I was on the Zoom when Greg Williams said, "It's not all on the defense." And he goes, "You figure that out." And he was trying to be all cryptic. Everybody could figure it out. It's because the offense puts them in awful field position all the time because they don't know how to do anything. It's a crappy team, and it's really boring to cover.
Well, and I was actually going to ask you, what is it like to cover the greatest grease fire in professional sports right now? And in a way, is it better that you're having to do it at arm's length on Zoom as opposed to having to go into that locker room 3, 4, 5 times a week? Because having covered baseball, that when you're in a losing situation, they hate you being there, and you start to hate being there.
And I've covered NFL teams. Yeah, I've covered the Seahawks, and I've covered the Giants, and I've covered the Broncos. And yeah, I understand, but I know what it's like to cover a good team and how many storylines you can come up with and how many angles you can take and how many ways, even when they're not all good. I just think that when you're a competitive team, I'm not asking for a team to be 14-2. I'm asking them to be 4-12. That's all I'm asking for. and it's lame. And the funny part is that we listen to these press conferences and then we think about what I'm going to write about. And I'll sit there and I'll sit through 45 minutes of Zoom calls between Joe Flacco, Adam Gase, Jordan Jenkins, and Marcus May. And I'll sit at the end of it and I'll go, huh? Like there's nothing. And it's not, and I feel bad for them because they're trying to put up a brave face. They're saying the right things. They're professionals. It's not for a lack of effort. That's the thing. They're not buying in, but the offensive strategy is so stupid and the defensive discipline is non-existent. It's a crappy team. I won money on them though. I took who they play.
Miami.
Oh, Miami. Yeah, I took the Dolphins, but it was 8 at the time. It was before Flacco got named, and it jumped to 11.5, and I got it when it was 8. And yeah, I won some money betting
Good for
against
you.
them.
And it seems to be the flavor of the day. Bet against the Jets at all costs right now.
But they could be a 21-point underdog against Kansas City. There was a story this morning. They play home for Buffalo. I'm going to that game, by the way. And we lost David.
Second time.
I'm going to the game against Buffalo, but then they go to Kansas City, and they're going to be easily a 24-point underdog. It's pretty.
They won't be favored in a game they play. I mean, we looked at their schedule. I think it's whatever the Dolphin game got moved to.
Yeah, the
it's
Chargers
basically
game.
the only opportunity that they have to really. I mean, where you could look at it, and the point spread's going to be 4 or less. Everything else, they're going to, and the odds are they'll win a game because this is the National Football League, and unless you're the Lions or the Bucks, it's really hard. It is hard to go 0 for 16. But right now, when you look at the Jets, they have 0 weapons. I mean, I'm a fantasy football guy. Outside of Crowder, there's not one guy worth even thinking about. And basically, it's like, can I start a defense that's playing against the Jets? And I know that's fantasy terms, but it is real football terms, and that there's just nothing there offensively.
No, and if you look at the matchups, if you look at the way they played against Miami, I mean, that was a winnable game, and they didn't show up. It wasn't that they lost, it's that they didn't show up. The only game I thought that they had they were in was the Denver game, and Denver's horrible. And so now you're in this position
too.
And they have three West Coast trips. They go to the Chargers, they go to the Rams, and they go to Seattle, all still. And that's all coming. Plus, they play Kansas City at Kansas City, and they have Buffalo, and they have New England. And New England's the only sub 500 team left on their schedule. It's New England.
And it doesn't look like that's going to change anytime soon because New England will be. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we all believe New England will at least right the ship to be an 8-8 type team. All right, Seth, Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice podcast. What do you got going on?
A very cool interview for Sports with Friends, although the PR guy screwed up the day. I thought it was going to be recorded yesterday at 4 o'clock, and it's recording today at 4 o'clock. So it's a little late, but John Hirschbeck, the longtime umpire, longtime umpire, is going to join me. We're going to talk about his illustrious career. I'm going to ask him about balls and strikes, and does he think technology should come in? We're going to talk about the Roberto Alomar incident from 1997. We'll talk about all of it. John Hirschbeck coming up, but it's going to be a little late. And then for Hall of Justice, a great voice actor, an accomplished voice actor. His name is John DiMaggio. John DiMaggio, Jolton John DiMaggio. And he's great. He's been in, when I say 30 things, he's the Joker in a new Batman animated film. He was Aquaman for years, and he's been in a lot of other things. You'd recognize his voice. John DiMaggio. So John Hirschbeck and John DiMaggio on the podcast. Hall of Justice is on time, but Sports with Friends is probably going to be tonight.
He's Seth Everett. You know where to find him. Sports Illustrated, Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice, or on Twitter at Seth_Everett. Seth, all the best to you and the family.
Thanks, guys.
And keep working on the accent. You almost have it down.
Oh, that accent doesn't need work.
Little more family time and you'll nail it. Miller and Mullen. I have to have a watch party for season 3 of The Marvelous Miss Maisel, just so you can give me actual family interaction.
So fun.
I love that, because I love the show, and
such a great
being
show.
a goy watching that show, I think I still miss out on a joke or two. But it would be a fun watch party for Seth to make comparisons to his own family.
Have you seen Wanda Sykes in season 3? I'm not spoiling it.
No.
Oh God. I can't wait. I will do that watch party anytime you want. That's so good.
The good, the bad, and the ugly as we wrap up the radio portion of the day and go right into the bonus Twitch hour. Where else but twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton.